Alright, so continuing our series using the rule of threes to determine if survival items really are survival items. Today we're talking about cordage. And just on like a side note I wanted to bring up, one of my favorite cordages is cooking twine. The reason I like it so much is because you get, like this was 500 feet, and I got 2 of these for $10. Right? The tensile strength on this is only about 30 pounds, so it's not a lot. But when you're talking like my 100-watt solar panels are 10 pounds a piece, right? So this is 3 times stronger than my solar panel. And so I can hang solar panels. My pack is usually around 20-25 pounds, and so I can hang my pack with that. It does stretch a little bit, but a lot of people use it for cooking. They use it for gardening. They use it for a lot of different things. And so if you need a cheap cordage, which I find is very easy to cut into small pieces because I'm not worried about having to buy more. Like paracord, I tried to keep as long as possible. I don't like cutting my paracord because it is so expensive. I want to keep it as long as possible. This stuff, I'll cut into little tiny pieces. If I need a little bit of cordage, I'll cut up the cooking twine. If I need whatever, I measured my staircase with cooking twine, and so I just went down my stairs keeping it tight, and I had no issue whatsoever cutting it. I had no issue whatsoever using it because it is so affordable. So I just wanted to mention that since we're talking about cordage today. So let's get into the rule of threes and see if cordage can really help you in a survival situation. Alright, so first off is 3 minutes without air. Now how can cordage help you? Well, for first off, one of the things I think about is drowning. And having a cordage to get you to the surface as quickly as possible is really handy. The other thing, I think of a lot of smoke. So if you're in a fiery situation or a smoky situation or tear gas or whatever, I know a lot of people use cordage to guide people through a lot of different things. So whether it's a cave, whether it's smoke, whether it's tear gas, whether it's whatever, usually you can use a piece of cordage tied to 2 points and make your way through that without getting lost, without getting distracted, and get to the other side. If you're diving underneath a cave and you're underwater, there's usually some cordage that goes through, or the first person will tie off and use cordage so that all the other people can use that to get through the underground cave system efficiently. You can tie off 2 people. So if it's a really smoky situation and I know, like this is my home, I know it very well, I can tie off to somebody and then make sure that they're coming with me and they're not getting lost or distracted or anything. There's lots of ways that you can use cordage to keep yourself and the people around you safe when you're in an environment that's hard to breathe in, right? And so let's move on to the next one. Next is 3 hours exposed to the elements, or 3 hours without shelter. It can help you make shelter. It can help you tie sticks and leaves and things together to make different shelter options. You can make a ridge line and then tie sticks and stuff to the ridge line to create a wind block. You can use a ridge line with a tarp to create a wind block. You can use a grabber all-weather blanket so that you can reflect the heat back to you, so you have a ridge line, and then that, or you can flip it around and deflect the sun's rays to help keep you cool. You can do that same thing with sticks and twigs to create shade. You can create a fire block with sticks and twigs so that it helps block the heat of a fire to keep you warm. It can keep the wind and the snow from blowing across you using the different shelter options. And so it's just, you can tie logs together to create like a cabin type situation. You can do lots of things with cordage. When it comes to making shelter, you can fly a tarp, and so that if it's raining, it can help keep you dry. There's so many things you can do with cordage. Like cordage is one of those multi-tools. Like it can do so many different things, and making shelter is one of them. It can make so many different shelters. If you combine a cordage with a tarp, there's so many things you can do to avoid so many different elements. It can keep you warm, it can keep you dry, it can keep you cool, it can almost do it all. So very good at keeping you out of the elements. All right, so next is 3 days with no water. And Cordage can help collect rain. When you're in a hammock, you create little drip lines at the end so that when the rain comes down the trees and goes down your line, it hits those drip lines and comes straight down. You can use those to create a no hammock. Just make a ridge line with little drips and then a container underneath, and so that you can collect the rainwater that way. If you have a tarp, you can angle the tarp and then collect the rainwater by using cordage. You can tie it in a way where it funnels the rain into a single point. You can fly a tarp, and then as the rain collects, it'll all collect to the middle of the tarp. Again, there's so many different ways to use cordage for everything. It seems like cordage can be used in multiple different ways to achieve so many different things. It's such a versatile tool. It can do so many different things, especially when you pair it with other stuff. You can collect lots of rainwater. You can tie up a sack, so if you have access to water, you can tie up your t-shirt, and you can tie it up and then collect rainwater that way. You can filter water through it to get the sticks and twigs and bugs and everything out of it before you boil it. You can, there's so many. There's so many things. If you can think of a list of things that cordage is good for, leave it in the comment section down below. I know there's a million different things cordage is good for, but if you think of things that are uncommon, things that people don't think of all the time, leave it in the comment section down below, and we'll all learn together all these new and unique ways of using cordage that you don't typically see. Leave it in the comment section. All right, next is 3 weeks without food. Again, cordage has a lot of different uses. You can make deadfall traps, you can make snare traps, you can use it as fishing line, you can make nets and use a net to catch different things. You can tripwire to alert you when animals are nearby so that you can go and hunt them physically. You can use it. There's so many different things. So many different things. It can alert you so that you can actively hunt. It can make traps so that you can just wait. You can make nets. And again, traps are the best because you can be doing other things while they're collecting the food for you. And you can make a lot of different traps using a lot of different natural materials, a lot of different, you don't need much more than just cordage to create a snare, right? You don't need much more than cordage to create a fishing line. You don't need much more than cordage to create a net. And so it's very, very versatile. It can do lots and lots of different things. If you are using it and combined with other stuff, you can tie a knife to a stick to create a very effective spear. You can tie different things together to create who knows what. You can use cordage to spread the tines on a fish gig so that your fish gig is more effective at catching fish and frogs. It's everything. It's good at everything. Cordage is good for everything. I swear. If you have a really good imagination, you can use cordage to accomplish almost anything. All right, and last but not least is the 3 things everyone needs to survive, which is food, water, and shelter. And as I've talked about, there is a ton of ways for cordage to get you all 3 of these things. It's a very, very versatile tool. It's a very, very good thing to just have on you all the time, even if you're just moving, right? Being able to use a trucker hitch to tie down your load so that nothing falls out of your vehicle or falls out of your trailer. Being able to tie things together so that they're easier to carry. Being able to tie up a tarp into a way where you can drag firewood, right? You tie the cordage around your waist into your tarp, and so you can just walk and pull the whole tarp full of a bunch of firewood at one time. Being able to fix a backpack strap so that you can again carry your equipment easier. Being able to tie everything, tie all of the things, right? It's such a versatile thing. You can use it to sew, so if you get a rip or a tear, If you have paracord, you can take the inner strands and sew up different things. If you have duct tape, you can sew it together, tape it together, and then you have a waterproof seal. I've showed you how to do that in one of my videos, and it's good at everything. It's one of those things that's kind of a jack of all trade, master of none, because depending on what type of cordage you have, it's going to be better at different things. But if you have the right cordage, like I said, your imagination is the only limitation that cordage has of solving a problem. And so yes, it is 100% a survival item. It's 100%. Even if you're stuck somewhere, having the right cordage means you can climb out, you can climb down, you can go anywhere, you can do anything with cordage. You can tie when you're in Antarctica, and there's the there's the holes, I forget what they're called, but they're covered in snow, and then you step on them and you fall. So everybody ties off together, so you have the body weight of a bunch of people to keep you from falling all the way down. Tying boats together so that they all get to the same place around the same time, because one could drift off into nowhere and you'd never see them again. But by tying them all together, you can kind of keep you all going in the same direction, moving the same way. There's so many things you can do with cordage, and if you have the right cordage, there's almost no reason to be in a survival situation if you have cordage with you. I mean, you have shelter, you have a way of trapping, getting food, you have a way of doing everything you need to do. You can even, if you have orange cordage, you can create a signal, right? You can create arrows to show people where you're at. You can create a big orange structure, a big orange signal that they can see if they're flying over. There's so many things you can do with cordage. So many things. And so, yes, it definitely is a survival item. Yes, you definitely should be carrying it with you. And again, if you can think of any situation where you use cordage that's unique or different than what people are commonly talking about, leave it in the comments section. I want to learn as much as I can about cordage because it is so important. I'm sure everybody watching this wants to learn about cordage. And so thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you on my next video.